Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of The Inside on Equinox Television. I am Babla Jonathan. They were arrested on the 5th of January 2018 in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and detained in an unknown place, and for weeks the governments of the Republic of Cameroon and the Federal Republic of Nigeria were silent on the arrests. And on the 29th of January 2018, Cameroon's Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson Issa Chiruma Bakari confirmed their extradition to Cameroon. And in this edition of the program, we'll be analyzing from the political and legal perspectives the arrest and extradition of Ambazonian leader Sisiku Ayuk-Tabe and his collaborators. In a moment, meet our guest. Our guest in this edition of the program is a senior legal mind, senior barrister ASHU. EMMANUEL AGBOR is the national president of the Reform Political Party. Barrister, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
The separatists and some legal minds have qualified the arrest and extradition of Sisiku Ayuk-Tabe and other Ambazonian leaders as arranged or well-calculated abduction by the governments of the Republic of Cameroon and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What's your take on that?
I think I will buy that. I will agree with that opinion, because their arrest was carried out illegally according to the laws prevailing in Nigeria, and their handing over to the state of Cameroon by the Nigerian authorities was also as illegal as the arrest. So I think that sums up the real situation.
Now, what makes it illegal, the arrest?
For any person to be arrested, you have to, you must have committed an offense. And if you are arrested, you should be arrested in accordance to the criminal procedure that prevails in the country. Nigeria is a country where we have common law, and under the common law, which also applies in Cameroon, you cannot arrest somebody and keep him incommunicado. He has no access to his lawyers, no access to doctor, no access to family, and for weeks nobody knows his whereabouts. That is illegal. Talk less the reason for which you arrested him. Remember, it was decried as an abduction. I was only after about a week that the Minister of Foreign Affairs said they were arrested just for some routine operation. Later on, the Inspector General came and said they will be sent to a court. But we have lawyers who were ready to defend these people. They were never taken to any court, never taken to any investigation, and I mean, that spells the illegality of the whole arrest.
But the Nigerian police indicated earlier that they were arrested for violating the Nigerian law by training secessionist fighters on the Nigerian
I want you to remember very well that that very Inspector General who made that allegation said his source was an article in the Vanguard newspaper. I don't know how an article in the newspaper can be somebody's proof. You read an article in the newspaper and that is your proof, which means he simply meant that he himself as Inspector General had no proof that these people had committed any offense, because his proof was the article in the newspaper.
And a communique of the Ambazonian government indicated that they were arrested without any warrant.
Well, you can be arrested without a warrant in cases of flagrant delicto, but I am saying that in this particular case there were so many things that militated in favor of an illegal arrest. There was no offense for which they were arrested, because when they were first arrested, people started speculating that they were serving as they were trying to undermine the security of the Cameroon state in Nigeria. No evidence of that. After they said, well, maybe they were involved in the destabilizing the Delta region, no evidence. After now, the Minister of the Inspector General comes to say, we are going to take them to court for having set up training camps. We have never seen images of a single training camp. nor the operatives of the training camps. Who were in those camps? Maybe the 39 others who were sent. We don't know. We don't know the identity of any person. I think no, this arrest was illegal.
And even the intervention of the African Bar Association did not help matters, seemingly.
There were lawyers who came from Britain and America to defend these people, but none of them could even see them. To talk less of the African Bar that got up to say our colleagues have been arrested. Produce them. Nothing. Till today. Nothing in Nigeria, nothing in Cameroon. You just mentioned the Minister of Communications, the government spokesperson. My colleagues in Yaoundé have gone to said judicial police to announce their interest in this matter, to defend Sisiku. None of them has seen Sisiku with his eyes.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know the legality. When we talk of legality, what are we talking about? Are we building a case to judge the dead? Are we going to try the dead or the absent, or try images on the wall? Because even under Cameroonian standards, no person should be arrested and kept incommunicado. You shouldn't be kept, because when they arrest you, they read the rights to you. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to a lawyer, to your doctor, to your family. I saw the statement of Madame Ayuktabe. She last time she saw her husband, or the head from her husband was on the feet. Even in Cameroon, nobody, our colleagues have gone there to say we want to defend this man and the other people. Nobody can see. So I don't know what due process of law are we gearing to? Are we going to defend somebody who has been kept in some hidden chamber and assign statements that will be produced to the court of law and say, okay, this was a statement that were collected from this man? Before he gives a statement, he has to see his lawyer. Ayuktabe has many lawyers. Many people are ready to defend him.
Now, from the political point of view, the arrest seems to have been an arrangement between the two governments, and not just something that was masterminded by the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, we all saw the arrangements unfold on TV when the Cameroonian minister visited Nigeria, the Nigerian minister visited Cameroon, and the ambassadors and all that. We all saw that. And politically, it was clear that there was some arrangement being made between the two governments. But politically, again, you see, well, or rather, diplomatically, there was an arrangement between the two governments. But politically, I think that was a very big mistake, because you don't try to silence a revolution by cutting off the head. If you want to silence a revolution by cutting off the head, it's like trying to put out a volcano, the flames from a volcano, by doing away with the fire that is up there. The fire that is under, it's going to come up. You see, when the volcano is erupting, you carry cement, concrete, and go and cover the mouth of the volcano. Have you done anything? The one under will come and blow that nonsense off. You see, so
So you're saying that their arrest was another error?
It was a fatal error. Politically, it was a fatal error that no politician worth his salt could have made. The Cameroon government ought to have learned from the case of the consortium. When they arrested the consortium leaders, did the struggle stop? It didn't. It instead fled up. Now, after failing with the consortium, they come now, they have an interim government. Not that it's not consortium, a government, which has ramifications all over. You come and arrest a few elements, because I want to believe that it was not the entire government that was arrested. The proof, we still have somebody like Chris Anu talking. They saw another one who said he missed a flight. Others who are in America. Bob Gahamoni, who has been elected another interim leader. So it was a fatal error that they ought not to have done politically. Because if you catch these people and kill them, they become martyrs. And you know the martyr effect. They will be adored by the people. And when people start adoring fallen heroes, you think you can quench the cause? No way. If you leave them alive and you bring them here like they say they are here, the day people will see that these people are in Cameroon, I'm telling you, we are in a very bad situation, because this is a struggle that has gone out of hand, because it has an arm wing. They're killing people every day. You and I are not safe. In fact, from social media we see information that they are giving the government up to Monday. I will not leave my house. I would not like to leave my house on a Monday.
Now, weeks after the arrest in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson of the Republic of Cameroon, Issa Chiluma Bakari, in a press conference, confirmed their extradition. But some legal minds like you are saying that it wasn't extradition, but it was something else.
Extradition is a process of law. It's a judicial process. Extradition is ordered by a court of law. We have it even in our criminal procedure code. Extradition is a judgment. It's a well-defined procedure that takes a long time. There was no extradition in this particular case, because extradition starts with a diplomatic application, which leaves Cameroon through diplomatic channel to Nigeria. Then it goes from diplomatic channel now to the criminal court, the competent criminal court that has to entertain the application, and the person to be extradited is given the opportunity to defend himself. In this particular case, I'm very sure that the two countries saw that it was impossible for them to send those people to Cameroon by way of extradition, because all the laws and international treaties are against. You cannot extradite somebody to a place where they're going to kill him. The law on terrorism in Cameroon has as punishment the death penalty. So nobody could accept to extradite them here on charges of terrorism. Again, many of them were political refugees. Many of them had dual nationality, American, Belgian, and all that. You cannot extradite them. Then for you to extradite, you have to show proof that they have committed something back at home. And then our criminal procedure code acts that you cannot extradite any form of government. But this is a whole interim government that has been carried aside. You see, so if you had to go to a court of law, that thing would not have been possible.
But the government officials who argue that it's a government that of a country that does not exist.
The criminal procedure code talks of any form of government. You see, like in the case against Yondo Black, I am very, very afraid that the people who initiated all these things, if that case were to go to the end, they will wish the case never came up. You see, when Yondo Black and co were arrested because they wanted to create a political party, you saw the outcome. The outcome was that after they said the matter in court, the president ordered that political party be created, because they were trying to stop the obvious. The constitution authorized the existence of political parties, and you want to stop them from existing. How can you, in a state, in a country where we have had a federal system, two federated states, want to say that one of the states never existed? How is that possible? I would like that the matter be taken to court. Let those people who want to hear history come. They want to talk law, we'll discuss the law in court. You cannot claim that the people who are talking of Southern Cameroon are talking about utopia. Southern Cameroon is a state that has existed. Otherwise, how do you justify the existence of West Cameroon in this country? West Cameroon is a state that came out of plebiscite, after plebiscite. One of the federated states, of which Foncha was prime minister. And it was a state in the Federal Republic of Cameroon. So you cannot say it has never existed. When you go to Boya, you see Prime Minister's Lodge. That lodge was what? That was the Prime Minister's house. All the institutions of government are present. You cannot say the state never existed.
Now, if it wasn't extradition, as the government of Cameroon claims, what was it then? Another abduction?
They were handed over. They were handed over. It was not abduction. From Nigeria to Cameroon, you cannot talk of abduction, because the Nigerians knew what they were doing. That is if they were actually given to Cameroon, because as of today I have mixed feelings about the existence of these people, because I don't understand how people who have been sent to Cameroon for the due process of law to be carried out cannot be seen anywhere.
Like the Minister of Communication
cannot be seen anywhere. You see, I would have loved to see these people and maybe enter appearance for one or two of them, but they are not seen anywhere.
And even the lawyers who want to,
my colleagues have gone there
access to the
on the lawyers forum. I have looked, I've seen my colleagues who have gone there and reported that, master, we have gone, but we could see nobody. They could not allow us. They say go to Commissioner for Government, who has to give you permit. That thing doesn't exist under the law. There is no such thing as a Commissioner for Government authorizing a lawyer to see his client. It does not exist.
And this has provoked questions like, are they dead? Are they
the people who want those questions to be asked should explain why they are putting all those hindrances to the contact between the privileged relationship between a lawyer and his client. It's a privileged relationship. You cannot stop somebody from seeing his lawyer or a lawyer from seeing his client. When it comes to the state where a lawyer can't see his client, then we start asking ourselves the question, what type of justice are we getting to? If they cannot even talk to their lawyer before any statement is made, what type of judgment are we heading to? Are you sure we're going to have a fair trial? Are we sure? Are we not sure that they're just going to be sent to the guillotine?
No, but the government, however, made issued a release indicating that the leaders are in good health. They are being detained at the state.
The government is not a doctor. The government is not a medical doctor. The criminal procedure code says any suspect is entitled to see his doctor, to see his lawyer. The legal doctor is a lawyer. The medical doctor is the doctor. The government is neither a lawyer nor the doctor for the suspect. So they should play their own role and leave lawyers and doctors do theirs. Why can the lawyers not see them? Why can the doctors not see them? I mean, everybody should do his role. If you claim that these people are in custody and they are doing fine, let us have the medical people tell us they are fine. Somebody can be doing fine with both eyes blown out. Can be doing fine because he's still breathing, but it's a corpse.
It was, however, a response to what the government of Cameroon called social media allegations of the possible assassination.
I am a legal mind, and I think that legality does not go well with darkness. If you want to talk law, please play well with the law. You cannot come to equity with dirty hands. If you say the people are doing fine, please apply the law, let their lawyers see them. Before any statement is taken from them, let the lawyer be present when you are interrogating them. Don't tell us in the lawyer's presence or in the lawyer's absence or in the absence of their doctor that they are doing fine. No, you are not their doctor, you are not their lawyer.
Now, another issue that is provoking lots of questions is the fact that the Minister of Communication qualified them as terrorists even before their trial.
Well, I was just asking this question, what type of trial are we heading to? Because if this gentleman who represents the government, and who knows, you see, under the French people say, nobody nul n'est censé ignorer la loi. So Mr. Chiroma knows the law very well, and he knows that no person who is deemed to have committed an offense, who is charged with having committed an offense, should be qualified as an assassin or a thief, or without fair trial, without the due process of law having found him guilty. He decides to call them terrorists. So what do you expect the judges who receive these people to do? Well, I just feel that he is only speaking the mind. The mind is only telling us what the end will be. Because if he cannot call them suspects, they are suspects by our law. But he says they are terrorists. They are suspects. No law has found them guilty of terrorism. I don't want to look at the legal intricacies of the terrorism charges, because if you look at the law on terrorism, you should either be a material you should either be the person who carries out the material act that produces mass violence and killings, or the person who masterminded it, or the person who financed it. Those three. Now, if you look at the first one, the person who carried out the material act, Sisiku and the rest, none of them has ever carried out any material act of terrorism. None. They have never, no, we don't have any evidence that they have ever come to the bushes, they have ever killed anybody. So what we can guess that their case will be is that they want to say these are the people who masterminded terrorism and maybe financed terrorism. Now, for masterminding, I don't know much about the organization of the Ambazonian government. But what I know is that they don't have a constitution. These are a group of youngsters who have come together to try to see how they can restore their state. They have no constitution. So we cannot say that their interim head of state is like our own here, like the head of state of Cameroon, who is a commander of armed forces, who will order troops to go down to the field. That's not the case. What I see is that there is some fellow that who calls himself military commander. Military commander, he is the one, he seems to be working on his own without any orders from the political wing. Now, so if we want to look at it carefully, the prosecutors will have to prove that the political wing was actually controlling the military wing and giving them orders to go act. You see, for you to say that they are the people who mastermind, because for what we are seeing, okay, Sisiku, Ayuk and the rest have been arrested, but we still have these military people who are telling us, giving us 48 hours ultimatum, produce them, or we are going to make you live hell. You see, that shows that they are independent of the political wing, which was there for diplomatic canvassing and organization. But the actions, the military actions in the field, I don't think were commanded by the people who were arrested. So the prosecutors are not going to have it easy proving that Sisiku, if he's still alive, or that any person's dead. I remember sometime there was an interview where there was some time he made a statement that he was against any form of violence. Remember that? So anyway, I'm waiting to see how the case will be put forward. And it is only after those proofs are presented. The last one of the financing, that the person who actually gives the money. What I know is that the diaspora is contributing monies. They have monthly contribution that they are sending, channeling. To which corner are they channeling? I have no idea. So it would be easy to prove that they were either financing or masterminding. Because from what I'm seeing this is an uphill task. It's really an uphill task. If they want fair justice, because you can still go and sit you there, listen to people talk, and then pass whatever judgment you want to pass. But if you want to be objective, it will not be easy to find that those people who were arrested either masterminded or financed, because none of them is rich for them to finance. They have to have enough resources. There is no billionaire among them whose personal resources could have gone to fund the movement. Now, when we talk of funding, you have to show proof by payment of bills, bank transfers. That is what we're talking about. Don't imagine that they financed. No, proof that they financed. And it is only after those proofs are presented, are administered in court, the judge could be, that the judge will say yes, this actually happened. It will not be very easy, as I'm saying, because but the Minister of Communication has already gone ahead of the judge to qualify them as terrorists. Well, I want to believe that was an overstatement. All right, we taking a short break. Time for us to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week in Osenaze with the press review. And when we come back, we'll take a look at the impact of the arrest and extradition of the Ambazonian leaders on the Anglophone crisis.
The Anglophone crisis dominates newspaper front page this week following the arrest of Ambazonian leaders in Nigeria and their extradition to Cameroon. an early edition of the Guardian Post, after long silence of both the Cameroonian and Nigerian governments on the whereabouts of the Ambazonian leaders, questioned where Ayuk Sisiku Tabe and co were present exactly after a report by France 24 they were extradited to Yaoundé. Same question was asked by the Sun newspaper. In the Horizon, Ambazonia officials denied the report by France 24 that their interim leaders were extradited to Yaoundé. The newspaper on its site described the report as propaganda, fake news by France 24 and TV Seng. It also highlights interim government of Ambazonia, insisting that Julius Sisiku Ayuk Tabe and co are in Abuja, Nigeria, while the Nigerian and Cameroonian governments decided to play the dumb role. Shortly after wide debate on their whereabouts, the government of Cameroon, according to the Guardian Post, decided to open up by confirming Julius Sisiku Ayuk Tabe and 46 other secessionists were extradited to Yaoundé. The Rambler asks in its January 30th edition what becomes next of the Ambazonian victims now that President Buhari of Nigeria has decided to deliver them to Biya's government. The Post Weekender answers by saying, death dangles over the Anglophone leaders after the Voice talks of a mystery journey from Abuja to Yaoundé. In the Guardian Post, the UN condemns the extradition of the Ambazonian activists to Cameroon by Nigeria. The confirmation of their extradition, according to another edition of the Guardian Post, reports how the US Congress points accusing fingers at Paul Biya for the escalation of the Anglophone crisis. This is evident as days after announcement the leaders will pay dearly for their crimes. Ambazonian fighters, according to the Guardian Post, decided to attack security forces, which led to the death of 2 gendarmes in Bello in the northwest region of Cameroon. Still in the Guardian Post, 3 persons were killed in Bangem during confrontation between Ambazonian Defense Forces and military officers. The Star newspaper talks of the African Bar reporting the government of Cameroon to the International Criminal Bar for failing to charge Ambazonian leaders to court. In relation to the Anglophone crisis, the Median says Mancho BBC, founder of the Coffin Revolution, and other Anglophone detainees have been abandoned in jail by supporters and lawyers. The frequent visits usually paid them by lawyers, the Median says, has ceased. Other burning issues reported by newspapers concern the 2018 elections. The Post Weekender reports on Honorable Osi Joshua and Honorable Joseph Mbandam clashing for SDF single candidate to challenge Biya in the presidential election, even though Nijon Frunzi has not yet declared his intention. The Sun reports on SDF boiling ahead of convention. It highlights Honorable Joseph Mbandam's readiness to disqualify O.C. Joshua, littoral candidate. In the Post newspaper, it is hoped Anglophones displaced as a result of the socio-political crisis may vote in 2018 elections, as a board chair member of Elekam intimidated the population of Meme Division in the southwest region. The Horizon in its publication talks of Nijon Frunzi and Bello Buba under pressure from supporters to step down before they go casting their votes in favor of both SDF and CDU parties. While the SDF party mobilizes powerfully, the Info newspaper makes it clear that no Anglophone can defeat Paul Biya, a super presidential candidate. That is all we could gather for you from the papers this week. More news from the papers next Sunday.
You welcome back. That was Innocent Aze with the press review. Now, Barrister, it seems the arrest and extradition of the Ambazonian leaders is worsening things on the ground. Just this week, there was a lot of tension, gunshots, gun battles between the defense and security forces and armed civilians in the northwest and in the southwest regions of the country. In the northwest, for example, a gendarme officer was killed this week. a soldier killed this week in the northwest.
The arrest of these people was the worst thing the worst blunder any politician could make, because this is a conflict that has gone into higher gear. These people have trained fighters in the field. At first, we're all doubting, but we now have the certainty that they have trained fighters. They have been blowing their airs on social media and nobody took them serious. But you can see, just like their diplomatic offensive which was launched and we were all laughing, that this military one doesn't seem to be a joke. We are losing soldiers every day, losing gendarmes every day. You look at the images of the funeral images, I'm not pleased at all. So I would have rather that we save the lives of these soldiers, save the lives of the civilians who are dying for something they don't know, and the houses that are being burnt. We can save all that. We didn't need this type of escalation. So I think that the arrest of these people is simply going to cause unnecessary escalation of a conflict that could have been solved in the easiest of manners. You see, it is always good to tell the truth. The Christians say that speak the truth and the truth will set you free. I'm a Muslim, you see, but when something is good, you can quote from it. Say, speak the truth and the truth will set you free. We are in a country that has gone through a lot. Many people say national unity that was dearly acquired. They forget to tell the youth and the citizens the truth about the national unity. You see, nothing that is based on deceit can last forever. I just talked of the federal government that we had in this country. Do you remember any assembly in this country having voted the federal constitution? After the plebiscite, there was Fumban conference. When we attended the AAC conference, AAC 1 and 2, Foncha, may his soul rest in peace, told us, "Say, my children, you are crucifying us for nothing." We never signed anything. We went to Fumban. Ahijo brought the draft federal constitution, which I took, and I told myself, okay, it's nice since you have prepared something. Let me take it to my people and I'll get back to you. Before he opened his eyes, after an assassination attempt, Ahijo had moved troops. That is what Foncha told us. Ahijo had moved troops into southern Cameroon and appointed himself president of the Federal Republic, Foncha prime minister of West Cameroon. Now, if those things are true, because when you look at it carefully, you see that no assembly ever voted the constitution which has been applied, and we stayed in force till around 72. It means that there was something wrong from the base. Why don't we look at this and tell the truth that it was not well done at the base? And then today, those of us who are enlightened, we have so many doctors, professors of law and all that, professors in sociology. Why can't we sit down and iron the conditions of living together? Why should we always lie and try to force others to accept the unacceptable? You see, that is what is hurting many people, because when they look at it, many Anglophones think that the Francophones want to assimilate all the Anglophones. But I look at the conduct of the head of state, who came up with this bilingualism and multiculturalism commission. I say, oh, that's fine. It means that the head of state has seen that what the others are trying to do is not fine. He has put this commission in place to say no to Anglophone assimilation. All cultures have the right to exist, which is good. Many people don't understand that, and they still think that Anglophones are victims of assimilation. Please, we should understand that things are moving and changing. While that was true in the past, now like this, I see them making efforts towards keeping Anglophones at ease. So I believe that if the government had like in other countries, set up a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. That would have told the truth to the people and say, look, we are sorry, it was not our doing. Or most of us were not there when these things happened. Let us fix it. I don't see one single Cameroonian who will not agree to sit on the table and discuss with his colleagues, with his brothers and sisters about our well-being. I don't see a single one. Instead of that, they tell you, they cover you with insults, cover you with all sorts of denigration. It's not necessary.
And military force that is being...
Then they use brute military force, beat, drag lawyers on the floor, on the roads, beat teachers, lock people up. No. Burn houses. This is bad. It's bad. It's uncalled for. Speak the truth. Reconcile with the people. That is better. We can still save this country if that can be done. Let's set up a Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and you will see that people will come and talk and wash our dirty linen in the family. And there will be no need for any uprising.
Now, with the arrest and extradition of the Ambazonian leaders and the situation getting worse on the ground, do you see this crisis escalating out of the two Anglophone regions to other part of the country?
That is the natural course. If Sisiku is alive, the day they will show him in public, I assure you that you are going to see something. You will see escalation in violence. They will say, release our leader now. If he is dead, I better not think of it, because they will hold them responsible, because they have said that the people are here. If it turns out that they are dead, the people will hold the government responsible for killing their leader. So either way, we are in serious trouble. The escalation is right there. The only thing they can do now is to come up with a Peace and Reconciliation Commission that will organize a national...
can that hold with the leaders in jail?
Well, if they are alive, they will have to participate. You see, you cannot do that type of thing without carrying out a set of measures. There has to be general amnesty, which I don't see this government granting. There has to be general amnesty, because the long and short of this struggle is a political one. The long and short, it's a political struggle. So you cannot be discussing politics like my learned colleague Alice Nkom said. I cannot be living with somebody who is always having his hand on the gun and pointing the gun at my head. It's not possible. How can you discuss with somebody? You are talking to him, he has his gun, he has his finger on the trigger, and the gun is pointed at their head. How can you discuss? So if we have to have a Truth and Reconciliation Committee, there must first of all be general amnesty that will be preceded by the release, the immediate and unconditional release of all the people who have been detained,
including the Ambazonians.
All the people who have been... If you don't do that, nobody will want to come and sit on the table with you, because they'll say, there's no reason why you're keeping these other people behind. You see, you may want to say, okay, they have burned the flag, they have insulted the head of state and government, they have done this, they have done that. Yes, but the government too is coming to equity with dirty hands. You have killed people, you have burned their houses, you have done this. So there is debt on both sides. So the only way to get out of it, let us wash our dirty linen in the family, order general amnesty, release everybody, and you see that the country will be calm, and we shall go now to the table with selected people representing the various regions to sit down and talk.
General amnesty and the release of the Ambazonian leaders and all those...
All detained, not just leaders, all detained. Because you see, when Mancho BBC was arrested...
Do you see that coming?
When Mancho BBC was arrested, he was thought to be a leader. He was thought to be a leader. Now, before Sisiku came out from outside, everybody thought that the Constitutional people were leaders. And I was saying, no, these people were simply sent by the population to represent them. They are not leaders. Even Sisiku, is Sisiku a leader? Sisiku is not a leader. You see, this is a self-proclaimed leader who was adopted by the movement. We know he's an engineer. He was nowhere in the conflict when it started. When my learned colleague in Douala here organized his Owada press conference, that sparked off the trouble. Sisiku was nowhere. You see, they just picked up the ball as he was bouncing. And when I head now to make hay while the sun was still shining, They are not the leaders of the cause. The leaders of the cause are the people who are suffering. And that is the reason why I say it doesn't serve any person by arresting people. When you arrest, the people who are suffering will look for other people to carry their cause. That's the thing.
Now, when you talk about general amnesty and the release of the Ambazonian leaders and all others, we know that these calls came and at the time when Barrister AGBOR, Dr. Fontaine Neba, Justice Ayapo Labine and the others were in jail, and when people started calling, release our leaders before dialogue can continue, government turned around and released some and then kept BBC and the
had they released everybody, the country would have been calm.
So even now, there's really
had they released everybody when they released AGBOR, the country would have been calm. It would have been difficult for the diaspora to win the minds. You see, this is a problem. When the government, in an attitude of divide and rule, released some people and left some in prison, they played into the hands of the extremists, who took it as an opportunity to make their cause heard now, to improve their image towards the population. As I'm telling you, you know very well that if you were to give a microphone to the government and give a microphone to the diaspora or the interim government, let both sides talk. Let us see whose message will be heard by the population. Who listens to the government? They are all listening to the people outside. So it is better for the government to overturn that.
Yes, but if
bring back credibility to the government.
If it was so difficult, and maybe remains very difficult even now, to release the leaders,
I don't think it's difficult. It's a matter of political will.
To release Mancho, BBC and the others.
It's a matter of political will.
What about those who are qualified as terrorists? Is that going to come as easy?
You see, I want to see it as a matter of political will. If you look at the letter from the presidency ordering the release of AGBOR and Co., there were no specified names. I asked myself, why did they release AGBOR and leave Mancho? The people who were enforcing it decided to choose. He said, release the people. You go and you choose one, choose two, choose three. For what reason? You see, that is the reason why it escalated. Because had they released everybody, the attention of the local population would have been back on the government. But they didn't release everybody, so the population has started listening to the rhetoric from outside, which was pleasing to their ears. Oh, if we are not with these people, we shall have this, we shall have that, we shall have that. It looks pleasing. And I pity our soldiers, because in this context, they are going to the front against a hostile population that looks at them as people who are coming as invading forces. I know the strongest part of an army is information. So if the population is looking at you as a hostile force, they will give you no information. Even if the enemy is there, they will not tell you. You go there, you will be killed. So it's not nice. That situation has to be reversed by putting on the table concrete measures that are going to please the population. Release everybody. I don't see what is difficult. Release everybody and set up a truth and reconciliation committee. Let us sit like it was done in South Africa. After all the apartheid years, South Africa could sit down and iron its problems.
Without the release of these leaders, dialogue would be practically impossible.
You see, if you don't do that, I don't think you can go to anywhere. You must release them.
They have to be part of the dialogue.
They have to be part of the dialogue. You don't have to have one single person in prison if you want dialogue. But from what we are seeing, it looks like dialogue is a thing of the past. They say they have dialogued. Mr. Chiroma even said they cannot be dialoguing with terrorists. So
but they are Cameroonians.
I don't know. Oh, well, he cannot dialogue with terrorists, but I don't know whether Boko Haram has become a friendly organization, because we have dialogue with them for some time. Obtain release of you cannot negotiate the release of hostages and tell me that you do not dialogue. So it doesn't mean that there is supposed to be some sense. If our state, if our country can go dialogue with a confirmed terrorist organization in the interest of certain citizens, to have certain citizens released? What does it cost us in the interest of national unity to organize a dialogue between the sons and daughters of this place? What does it cost us? I think it's a matter of foolish pride.
And the Minister of Communication, as well as the Minister of Higher Education and other members of government, have been saying it repeatedly, that the form of the state is non-negotiable. In other words, they can't dialogue with the so-called terrorists because they will be talking about secession, and secession is out of question as far as government is concerned.
You see, I'm sorry, those people you have just mentioned seem to have forgotten that since independence, the form of the state is one thing that has always been negotiated. Since independence, the form of the state is the one thing that has always been negotiated. Look at it. Republic of Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, Federal Republic of Cameroon, United Republic of Cameroon, Republic of Cameroon. How? The form of the state is the thing that has been most often on the table. So they're just, what they're saying is total nonsense. You cannot, in a country where you have been negotiating a form every day, say it's not negotiable. The federal constitution said it was not negotiable. Just stop the country from moving from federal to united.
All right, Barrister, will be right back in a short while. Time for us to take interviews of the week.
The forces of law and order that are supposed to be professionals, that are supposed to understand that those who engage in such activities don't remain in those areas. Then the army again goes, people who are supposed to maintain law and order, to protect property, to protect lives. They go on the rampage in villages, burning houses, burning foodstuff, burning, grain barns. When people have worked for a whole year to gather their grain for the rest of the families, they are destroyed. People's stores and so on, all ransacked. It is unbelievable. It is unacceptable. It is inhuman.
I'm a transporter. I deal with palm wine. I'm a dealer. So I left this morning, traveled down to the bush market to buy my palm wine. Reaching here, they said that places are hot, but we don't know. I don't know what is happening. I stopped here to buy some. But unfortunately, I just saw gendarme truck army coming down here, just start chasing people. Running, when we ran now enter the bush, before coming back, they have destroyed all my containers with the palm wine that I bought inside, destroying my bike. I'm just from the repairer right now. So I don't even know what is happening. Right now I'm only confused. All my capital is already gone as I'm standing here. I'm frustrated.
Were handed a few hours ago to the Cameroonian judiciary, before which they will be tried for their crimes. The government of Cameroon takes this opportunity to commend the excellent multifaceted cooperation existing between Nigeria and Cameroon, particularly with regard to security. The government of Cameroon reaffirms the determination of both countries, under the leadership of their respective head of state, never to tolerate that their territory be used as a base for destabilizing activities directed against one of them.
The SDF is always ready, but there is a big but. We have an impending situation in the country whereby, be it in the northern part of the country with Boko Haram in the 3 northern regions, be it in the eastern region with the sort of crisis and revolts that come from Central Africa, be it in the 2 Anglophone regions, northwest and southwest regions. These 3 poles indicate that life is unstable, that there are crises, severe crises, and a lot of disorganization in society. And anybody who wants to talk of living in a serene society you cannot say that we want to go to elections under these conditions. If it were left to us, these problems should be handled and solved before we go in for elections.
I have decided to put on my candidature for that post, for that selection. So I have announced my candidature in that regard. I have had convincing signals from the chairman of our party that he is not presenting himself as a candidate for the presidential election.
There are many people who still in this market. There's still my neighbor, these two neighbors. The other day, 2 weeks now, there's still this one. The other week, the opposite neighbor. So now they are still there today and still 12 stores. I don't know whether tomorrow will be my own. So I don't really know. No. That is too much.
We have problem with our guard. We don't have a veritable guide in our market. We have a tupuri. They don't know speak French. When we have a problem in our market, when we ask them, ils tombent. Il fait que clé marché gardien descendu donc it means that we don't have guard.
We want to change the watchmen. We want the community to change the watchmen and they bring another people. We don't need these people again. Change even the president. All these people want to change to bring another people. We don't want guardians. We want those security people who come with dog.
We are all concerned, and we want all the parents and the students to be a part of this campaign of fighting this marijuana. So the Littoral region is standing to fight against this proliferation of marijuana, and we are asking all the parents to be part of it. The consumption of those drugs is not good. They are not allowed by the law, and that's why the Procureur General has said that if you go to do it, may be sure that the judicial procedures are going to be settled.
Please, students, you people are my friends. Stop taking drugs because it's not good for an organ. When a human being is taking drugs, it will contaminate his kidney and it can die. We are the future of Cameroon.
Drug is a bad thing that destroys the system. It destroys it psychologically and physically. And when people take it, they think it's helping them, especially when they're having problems. They think you help them to resolve the problem or you bring solution, but it helps to destroy the system and it destroys their kidney.
In the committee, our role mostly is reporting. You know, we think that if we were given some kind of repressive power, things will go better because people fear sanctions. You see, but if we are only left to do reporting, the same problems will reoccur and people won't take the committee serious. If we are left only to holding meetings and listening to reports made by civil servants, I don't think it helps the committee quite much. The execution rate for 2017 starts at 65%, which is far below what we had in 2016. 2016 we had about 80%, and the same problems will occur.
The traffic is not really a good one due to the race, bicycle race. We have the traffic being a problem. These people should organize things in the outskirts of the town because the traffic is really catastrophic.
You welcome back. Barrister, elections are expected to be organized this year, and the President of the Republic said he will make sure that things return to normalcy before the elections are organized. Now, with the arrest, extradition and detention of the Ambazonian leaders, it's becoming more and more complicated for things to return to normalcy, for the elections to be organized.
I am a politician and I in the days ahead will have to unfold my political agenda. I am really sorry to say that I don't see any return to normalcy in the present configuration of things. Our president is out of the country for reasons I don't seem to know. Maybe where he is, there is normalcy, but here, how can we have elections in a country where they are kidnapping SDOs and DOs, killing military officers, killing gendarmes on a daily basis? How is that? How are you going to organize elections?
Inhabitants fleeing their homes.
They are burning the whole villages. You have refugees. Oh my. How are you going to organize the election? When you burn the villages of people, who are going to vote? The trees? When even the soldiers don't feel safe, who is going to control, to ensure security during the voting? We all know there is raging insecurity. Tomorrow Monday, tomorrow Monday, we have been told that their 48 hours are expired. I don't know from where they're going to eat. I'm happy that the government is taking it serious, because yesterday I saw
who's 48 hours.
The ambassadors, they gave 48 hours on social media, on Facebook, that they're giving government 48 hours to release a leader, or Monday they are going to see. I'm happy yesterday I saw troops patrolling Bonaberi. That's good. I can at least close one eye because I know soldiers are outside. But you see, how can you imagine that there will be elections? See what happened in Boyaderade. A simple rumor that the Manu Tigers were around. You see, look at the pandemonium. What will happen if they actually arrive? And if they were to arrive on voting day, who will vote? No, we should be serious. You see, I think that this government is playing with fire. We have an international tournament to organize next year. I want this government to understand the image of Cameroon is at stake, because CAF can refuse to allow us organize a tournament for security reasons. They seem to be downplaying everything. CAF can pick the security threat as an excuse to take that tournament away from us. But these people, they don't seem to be saying anything. What does it cost them? Release these people and let the sons and daughters sit down, come to terms, so that there's peace and security everywhere. It doesn't cost them anything. Why catch this one, catch one, give names? It's for what?
Even the United Nations High Commission for Refugees has condemned what
the American Congress came up with a resolution condemning. But this is not good.
But nothing seems to be changing. The government seems to be bent on its way of handling the issues.
Well, they are making their time, and since they want to organize the election, let me see how they will organize the election and win. Let them organize and win. In this context, I'll see who will vote for them, because they don't seem to understand that Cameroonians don't want their belligerent attitude, going to war against their fellow citizens. It's not normal. It's not correct. They should sit up. All of us want to live in peace. All of us want to live in a country that forges ahead. We want to forget the other issues, that their government has been unable to solve corruption, unemployment, misappropriation. They have been unable. These are things that have beaten them for years. Economic crisis. Every day we are in economic crisis. Please, let them give us a break. We are sick and tired of having an incompetent government, whose incompetence has been recognized by the head of state, who himself said, I've tried everything. It's not working. He even accused his government of being incompetent.
Now, with the Ambazonian leaders still in jail, how do you see the nearest future?
I said, if the Ambazonian leaders are in jail, it's going to be, the day their images, their picture, they will be presented to the public that here they are. It will lead to the violence will skyrocket. They will say, release our leaders. If they are confirmed dead, it will be worse. Why did you kill our leaders? So the government should try to save face by releasing everybody, declaring general amnesty and calling people, the sons and daughters of this country, to the table.
Right. If you were in a position to advise President Paul Biya.
That's my advice. That is the advice I'm giving him. He should forget all small things. Forget all the small things. We are in a country, the world, they say the country is, the country does not know God. But in Islam and in Christianity, forgiveness is divine. You see? So let us learn to forgive and sit on the table as brothers and sisters and iron out our differences. That's the best thing to do. Going to war against a brother is bad.
Barrister, thank you so much for accepting to be a guest in this edition of the program.
You're welcome, sir.
That was Senior Barrister ASHU Emmanuel AGBOR, President of the Reform Political Party. He was a guest in this edition of The Inside. And that's it for this edition. Take the appointment for next Sunday for another edition of the program. Thanks for staying with us.